Hello and welcome. You're watching News Central Television. I am Judith at TV. It's time for news now. Here are the top stories at this hour. Death toll from Gombe headers attack rises to 5. Appeal court vacates order stopping release of Rivers funds. And South Korean MPs vote to impeach president after mass protests over martial law violation. Details in a moment. And we begin the news in Gombe, where residents of Powishi village in Kalmai district of Biliri local government area have said no fewer than 5 persons were murdered during the recent invasion by suspected herdsmen. The community members faulted earlier reports which stated that only Malam Yusuf Akwara was killed in the attack. The violence began Wednesday afternoon and culminated in the burning of over 250 houses as of Thursday morning. A statement signed by the State Police Public Relations Officer, ASP Buhari Abdullahi, had said a combined team of police officers and the 301 Artillery Regiment, led by Area Commander Biliri, was mobilized to contain the situation. Still on security matters, the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, has deployed a Special Operations Brigade to Sokoto and Kebbi States as part of efforts to eradicate the Lakurawa Sect from the region. The deployment is part of the ongoing operations aimed at eliminating the self-acclaimed jihadist group operating in the 2 northwestern states. According to a statement released in Sokoto, the deployment seeks to boost the successes achieved under an operation to chase out Lakurawa. Addressing the troops on Friday, Brigadier General Ibikunle Ajose, the General Officer commanding 8th Division of the Nigerian Army and Commander of Sector 2, Operation Fasten Yama, conveyed the directives of the Theater Commander, Major General Oluyinka Shoyele. He tasked the troops with ensuring the total dismantlement of the Lakurawa Sect in the affected states. Away from that, the Appeal Court Abuja has set aside all orders restraining the Central Bank of Nigeria and the Accountant General of the Federation from releasing funds to the Rivers State government. The 3-member panel, presided by Justice Haman Barker, held that the subject matter was not within the jurisdiction of the court relating to the revenue of the state. While allowing the appeal of the Rivers State government, the appellate court also set aside all the orders made by Justice Joyce Abdulmalik, stating that it was unconstitutional for her to make orders restricting Rivers State government to receive funds due to the state from its consolidated revenue fund. The appellate court held that the lower court overreached itself and did not have the jurisdiction to entertain the matter. Earlier, we were joined by Henry Ekene, a lawyer who helped shed some insight on the matter has been heavily beclouded by political undertones. We'll bring you that later on. I'll bring you now, we'll switch gears away from Rivers State, but still on revenue matters. The federal government has threatened to deploy the full weight of its power against states enacting laws that fly in the face of the July 11th judgment of the Supreme Court on financial autonomy for local governments. Attorney General of the Federation AGF and Minister of Justice Lateef Fagbemi was speaking at the 2024 National Conference of the Abuja chapter of National Association of Judicial Correspondents. He warned governors and council chairmen against tampering with local government funds because of the grave implications. According to Fagbemi, contempt proceedings will be brought against such states, while the Attorney General would be referred to the Legal Practitioners Disciplinary Committee for misconduct. For governors, Fagbemi said by the July 11th judgment of the Supreme Court, tampering with local government funds amounts to gross misconduct and an impeachable offense. And now to discuss this, we're joined by attorney at law, none other than Tunji Abdulhamid. Tunji, thank you so much for joining us. Let's just get right into it, shall we? The Attorney General is really clear on this matter when it comes to tampering or even just misappropriating or not even releasing the funds at all. Will this threat hold hold good for that matter about local government funds?
Yeah, thank you for having me. I think the kind of tampering that we're talking about has to be defined, because the fact that the Supreme Court said that the local government should collect their money directly does not mean that the local government are prevented from donating money or contributing in the project with the state. The state has the power to also, the local government, sorry, they have the duty to collaborate with the state in terms of developmental planning. So in that regard, if a money is released to the local government, and the local government, in line with the Section 7 of the Constitution, is trying to join hands with the state to collaborate in developmental project or planning, and in that regard is contributing money to that effect, that would not be a breach of the Constitution, as from in my own understanding. What would be a breach of the Constitution is for that money that's being paid to the local government not to be paid to them. In other words, and as it is now, there is no way money will be paid. The Attorney General will now pay money directly to the local government. So there is no way the state will be in breach of the judgment of the Supreme Court, because the Supreme Court is clear. What the Supreme Court said, that don't pay no money belonging to local government directly to local government. That does not preclude the local government or the state from coming together to do a project together. The local government chairman will be responsible for it if, in any event, he did not contribute more money for a particular project. Maybe just giving it to the state. That would be a breach on his part, but that would not amount to infringement. That would be a breach of his duty, and it will be answerable to the corrupt parties agencies in that regard. So, what will constitute contempt here, I don't know. It will only be when that money is not paid directly to the local government, and that states, in that regard, state cannot be answerable to that, because states don't pay money to local government. They pay directly from the federal allocation. So how they will be in contempt, I don't know yet. I need further explanation in that from the Attorney General of the Federation.
I'm glad we're having this conversation, because in a state like Anambra, where the state assembly was towing the path of such legislation, where I think by now the governor is asking for it to be signed into law, or if it has, what would you say is the way moving forward for a case like Anambra?
I think they have the right to make law with local government, because like I said, Section 7, Section 3 of the Constitution of Federal Government of Nigeria gives what's it called? Give the local government the right to, the duty, impose on them the duty to participate in economic planning and development of the state. And in that regard, the state assembly was empowered to make law to constitute what we call economic board. And in that regard, so when you constitute the economic board, that economic board is for the purpose of the development of the state. How would they operate? Would that not be money? Are you saying the local government cannot contribute to such projects? Are you saying contributing to such projects will be an infringement of the Constitution? To me, the answer is no. Because if you are saying we want to do projects, and that project is good for both the local government and the state, and they are collaborating together, the both local government and state will bring money together. So if local government is contributing money to that effect, you cannot say that such a local government or chairman has breached any position of the Constitution, or the state has by its law breached any position of the Constitution. If there is a law on grant, which like I said earlier on, which they are empowered to make by Section 773 of the Constitution of Federal Government of Nigeria, that would not be a breach as far as I'm concerned, in my own opinion.
And for the council chairmen themselves who might misappropriate or even misapply local government funds, he also said that he would be prosecuted because they do not enjoy immunity in the Constitution. Do you also see this visible? Because oftentimes local government and misappropriation of funds at that level, it's always slipped through the cracks. Wouldn't there be some level of scrutiny and some level of microscopic view for us to even know what happens then?
Once if a local government is alleged to have enriched himself with the local government money, there is nothing bad in taking him to court. It's normal. It doesn't have any immunity. So only the president, the vice president, the governor, and the deputy governor have immunity under our law. So when a local government or anybody for that matter has been alleged of dipping his hand into our local government money, he can be prosecuted for it, and that is not new, and that is normal under our law. It's only in our situation whereby people don't take they don't follow the law. They don't take the enforcement agency, particularly when you are in alignment with the government in power. They don't seem to do anything with you. when you're not doing the right thing. So for me, it is not abnormal. It is normal for anybody that has been alleged of corruption to be taken to court to face the consequences of his acts.
I mean, there has also been accusation or speculation, more like, I beg your pardon, before now, that there was a moratorium on the judgment between the governors and the presidency, which was more like a political solution, one to say, to delay the implementation of the judgment till around October. And I suppose you think that, with this latest statement by the AGF, all such areas, such gray areas are settled?
I think with the expiration of the, the moratorium that has been with him, I think, you see, when the government is given in court, as a claimant in court, I can also, after the judgment, I can endure you. I can also come to a compromise with you, which is what they are doing now. So look, let's give them more time, because the Supreme Court will not on its own just come and say, local government, we made a law, there is judgment, and you fail to abide by it. It is the Attorney General that will go to court and say, this particular state or local government has failed to abide by your judgment, and that's where the court will move. So if you don't move the court will not move. So if there's a compromise between the state and between the federation and the state, there's nothing bad in that in law. But for me, that compromise should come to an end soon. And let me tell you, as long as we have a situation whereby local government chairmen are being selected in court or appointed by the state, there is no way that autonomy, financial autonomy that we're talking about, will be very effective. There will be a compromise whereby money, in the name of we are collaborating for a developmental project, money will be returned back to the state through the back door. So for me, I think the Attorney General in his own, he doesn't have control over the states. He's just Attorney General of the Federation. Even the President has no control over the state. We are operating a federal system of government. The states are on their own. So if anybody has been found guilty or wanting in his, the agency that are responsible for that will take it up.
I mean, my final question for you would be, with all of these threats and what we've seen with state governors, I mean, Yahaya Bello comes to mind immediately, right? Do we see more of, misappropriation cases in the future? Do we see cases where the governors will have some sort of, the governors have immunity, but in terms of local government chairmen now, will things start to change when it comes to persecuting or even going after those who have been found wanting a misappropriation? Do you see some sort of transparency and justice being, properly done till the end?
As long as we are operating the same way we are operating today, as long as people are not being punished, as long as people are not being shown as an example or scapegoats, it will continue. In fact, as we speak, corruption is going on. It's on ground. People are still doing what they are doing. So for me, it is not about us saying it. It's about those who are responsible for taking their action in that regard. In other words, the agency that are responsible for fighting corruption should sit tight and not wait for directive from the president or any other person. They should do their job without any fear or favor, without being seen as being a member of a ruling party or not being a member. Because what we see in this country is that most times, once you belong to a ruling party, they look away from you. Until when you have an issue without ruling party or you move to another party, you can see, you are talking about Yahaya Bello. The last, is it only Yahaya Bello that has been alleged of corruption? How many people have been pursued? Majority of them are not being pursued, all the governors. Even the ministers, most times we don't even care about the ministers. They don't talk about ministers. They don't only talk about the governors. So as long as we are doing a selective justice or punishment, we cannot get it right. People will still continue to steal. We need to do follow our law, do things in line with the law. That's why we can get it right. Until we have a chairman local government that can be said that are being voted into power by people, then the control that we're talking about from the state will not end.
Tunji, I must say thank you very much for just taking out the time this afternoon to have this conversation with us. One thing is clear, the work is cut out for the judiciary as well as the corruption watchdogs that we have. But once again, thank you so much, Tunji Abdulhamid.
Now, it's only the watchdog that have the job to do. The judiciary has no job now.
Well, only time will tell. Well, Tunji, many thanks. We appreciate you for coming on.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure to be with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Tunji Abdulhamid, there's an attorney at law just speaking to us regarding the AGF statements on misappropriation and local government funds. We're going to short break. When we come back, I am Yoruba, not me, but Kemi Badenoch, as she doubles down on Nigeria comments. Stay with us. And you're welcome back. The leader of the UK's Conservative Party, Kemi Badenoch, says she is Yoruba and identifies less as a Nigerian because she has nothing in common with the people in northern Nigeria, which she described as haven for terror groups like Boko Haram. Badenoch has been at the receiving end of constant backlash from many Nigerians, including public figures in recent months, due to her sustained criticism of its rampant corruption and volatile security climate in the British media. Many Nigerians have deemed most of Badenoch's comments about the country as unflattering. Vice President Kashim Shettima, who is from the north, has criticized Badenoch for her comments. The vice president said recently that she could go ahead and change her name if she did not want any association with Nigeria, which he described as the greatest black nation on earth. And now to discuss this, we're being joined by Olajumoke Alawodu James. She's a public affairs analyst. Jumoke, I know I butchered something there. Forgive me, and welcome onto the program. I'm from the South. I'm sorry. My sincerest apologies. Well, let's get started, shall we, Jumoke? I mean, it's good to have you join us here, like I said earlier. But first, one would have thought, Kemi would be good news for Nigeria. Well, I think that Nigerians have expected that Kemi, being such a, a powerful figure and a very prominent and very important voice now in the UK politics, it meant good news for Nigeria. But it doesn't seem like that anymore. In fact, it's actually getting messy. I have to ask you, what's wrong here?
You can have both situations side by side, which is that the most powerful Nigerian in the UK today is Kemi Badenoch, right? She refuses to associate with Nigeria, that she's Yoruba. And some of us, I'm Yoruba, and I've said it on national TV several times before also, that I'm first Yoruba before I'm Nigerian, because Yoruba is my indigenous language. I cannot speak Hausa, I cannot speak Igbo, But the British themselves, when they colonized Nigeria, called us one. And so we have accepted that as a republic. It's like saying, I'm Nigerian before I'm African. Am I not African? Yes, I am. But I'm Nigerian before I'm African. And if I choose to dissociate myself from terrorism in North Africa, in the Middle Africa, I'm allowed to. But is she eligible? Does she have rights to her opinion? I absolutely think that she does. I'm of the opinion that you cannot say to Badenoch, a Yoruba Lagosian that has an Igbo mother, that he is not Yoruba enough to govern Lagos, and then expect someone who has lived her adult life and married a printer that she must, identify with Nigeria. I think it's hypocritical. So I agree absolutely with Kemi. The people who criticize her think that she must do PR for Nigeria, but she has also told us her background in Nigeria, how she saw corruption, how she saw insecurity, and she does not want to have a place in that. For whatever reasons that she has chosen that, I think we should allow her her right to her opinions.
Let's talk about, there's something she also said there, which you just mentioned, which is referring to the North as haven for Boko Haram. Don't you think it's unfair to just be such a generalized approach to the North?
Well, the Boko Haram came from the North. The name Boko Haram is not Yoruba, it's not Igbo, it's not Middle Nigeria, Middle Belt. It's from the North, Generalizations generally are unfair. The way some of us want to criminalize some people from some tribes in Nigeria, that are known for prostitution or known for carrying drugs or known for doing fraudster, for doing fraud, for being fraudsters, as unfair as those generalizations can be, yes, you are right. It can't be unfair to say that the entire North, is about terrorism. But again, when you think of how terrorism has fostered in the Northeast, and Lakurawa is now starting from the Northwest, and in the Southwest, we have been able, using the community policing, to ensure that they are not encroaching into the Southwest. We have seen, all sorts of things also in the Southeast. Insecurity in Nigeria is general. But if she says that Boko Haram is identified with the North, there's some facts to it because it started from the North. ISWAP is not in any part of the South, for instance, right now. God forbid that they might go downwards. So if you say that, I do not want to associate with ISWAP or ISIS that are encroaching on northern areas,
right,
it's a fact because that's where they're domiciled.
Let's remove her statements and just talk about what the problem actually is. Let's look inward into Nigeria, shall we? And what would you say really is the problem here? Because, to really completely, when you look at her roots, even though she's born in the UK, her formative years were here in Nigeria. So she's benefited from the system, right? And whether we like it or not, even though the Yoruba culture and the Yoruba people are scattered across West Africa, one thing is certain, it holds a majority of Nigeria here, and it contributes to our pop culture, our songs, our music. So what exactly is the real issue here? Is it our politics? Is it the economy? Is it leadership? What is the issue, and what are we overlooking in all of this?
Well, it's a myriad of challenges. One is leadership. Well, when we say leadership, the leaders come from the followers. Nigerian leaders are not from Ghana or Togo or Benin Republic. They are Nigerians. So we have a leadership problem generally. And you find that the same problem that we have in political leadership is what we have in religious leadership, where people just want to take advantage. Selfish reasons is why we get into leadership. It's about me. I better pass my neighbor, right? But there's also some economic problems which we would again affiliate to the lack of good leadership. Because if we have good leadership, you would save, knowing that we have a revenue problem. We're not making as much money as we made in the days when we found oil. The days where we were an agricultural giant in Africa. You would save rather than buy SUVs, for judges and private jets for the president. You would build on infrastructure, like electricity, good roads, railway systems where the citizens can create their own employment and improve, their lives and employability. You would build better schools, you would improve on the healthcare system that we have. So our economic problems also stem from lack of good governance and lack of good leadership. But there was a third thing that you mentioned, which is our politics. And I think that you're right on that also, because we say that we're practicing federalism, but we really aren't. Because all of our 36 states will cap in hand to collect allocation from the federal government every month, right? If we were practicing true federalism, each state would generate its own revenue and send in a percentage of that to the federation. But what we have right now is that the federal government is sitting on major resources. And some resources like gold, you will find it in Zamfara, you will find it in Elisha. Zamfara's gold is for Zamfara citizens. Elisha's gold is being mined most of the time illegally. But then we will say crude oil from the Niger Delta is for Nigeria. We sell it and then all the other states, plus the ones who have land, they could, invest in agriculture. All the other states, including the ones who will destroy alcohol, because they're practicing Sharia. All the other states will go and collect allocation from the revenue generated from alcohol and crude oil, and so the politics we are practicing, is it parliamentary? Is it federalism? Or should we just go back to monarchy? We're not, our democracy is a little funny. So it's a little of all of the three items that you've mentioned.
I mean, Jumoke, you've done a solid one with this one, and I appreciate you for coming on. I would say the Nigerian problem is a colonial masters issue. They're the ones who put us in this mess in the first place. But hey, what do I know? I'm just a journalist. Ola Jumoke, I mean, thanks for doing this.
4 years ago,
I mean, they looked at the map of sub-Saharan Africa, they drew something, and they said, "Yeah, that's Nigeria," and we got stuck here, you and I. Ola Jumoke, I must say thank you. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
You too. She's a public affairs analyst. She joined us to speak more on Kemi Badenoch's comment. Let's switch gears now to talk about human rights organization Take It Back movement, as they are now demanding for the immediate release of Nigerian female activist Comrade Abiodun Thomas, also known as Halamide Africano, who was allegedly arrested by the Nigeria police force. The group is calling on the Lagos State Commissioner of Police to order her immediate and unconditional release. Now, this was contained in a release signed by members of the organizing committee of #EndBadGovernance in Nigeria in Lagos State, Hassan Taiwo Soweto and Oloye Adegboyiga Adeniji, on Friday. Nurse Abiodun Thomas is said to be a prominent activist and a critic of President Tinubu's policies, as well as the conduct of the Nigerian police. According to the statement, she has been involved in seeking justice for victims of domestic and sexual violence in Lagos State. And Polytechnic lecturers under the aegis of Academic Staff Union of Polytechnics, ASUP, have suspended their 2-week strike after reaching a new agreement with the federal government. The union directed its members to resume work across the country on Monday, December 16th. In a statement signed by ASUP President Sharma Panja on Friday in Abuja, ASUP explained that the decision to suspend the strike followed a new Memorandum of Understanding, MOU, reached at a conciliation meeting with the Federal Ministry of Labor and Employment on 9th December. Among the demands of the union include violation of the Federal Polytechnics Act, non-review of the contentious and suspended document entitled Schemes of Service for Polytechnics and Conditions of Service. The General Officer commanding 3 Ahmad Division of the Nigerian Army, Major General Abdusalam Abubakar, has emphasized the need for empowerment programs that will improve the lives of officers and men of the division, as well as the barrack community. The GOC, who doubles as the commander Operation Safe Haven, was speaking at the division's headquarters during a 1-day empowerment seminar to draw the attention of participants, especially the personnel, to the need for the seminar. News Central Chizoba Anionwe completes the report.
Life after retirement from active service has been seen by many as a difficult one, leaving retirees at the mercy of no one except being dependent on their family members and loved ones alike. Pension may not be enough for most of them to sustain their livelihood as against while in active service. This is why these participants are gathered under this roof to gain the knowledge of fish farming, one of the skills under agriculture that personnel are allowed to explore while in and out of service.
As we gather in this auditorium, we are reminded of the realities of our current economic landscape, where often our earnings do not keep pace. Today, as we delve into the world of fish farming, a venture that not only promises self-sufficiency, but also empowers our families in the cantonment during and after service years.
In line with the new Chief of Army Staff's mandate of empowering and improving the lives of personnel, these stakeholders are committed in ensuring not just officers of the military are well engaged, but also their dependents.
Accents are coming from children, from to come to our homes to lay tiles, POP, bricking, and all those things. It's a shame for us Nigeria. This president does not want that to happen again. He also talked about agripreneur. He wants us to turn a lot of Nigeria to entrepreneur in agriculture. And that's why what we are doing today is very important. Life after retirement, what next? Life before retirement, what next? Is a great opportunity for us today to be in front of you people, to open the door to see catfish business and tilapia is very rich. I want to use this opportunity to congratulate the Josie for this initiative, to thank you for availing yourself to lend the element in order to improve the income of the officers, to prepare their mind towards retirement, to improve their livelihoods, as well as generate revenue to the system.
With this intervention, personnel are expected to keep the spirit alive even in the face of retirement. In Jos for News Central, Chizoba Anyuwi.
Nigeria's Minister of Foreign Affairs has tasked ECOWAS member states to work towards creating trade and investment opportunities for citizens of the sub-region. The minister, while speaking at the 93rd Ordinary Session of the ECOWAS Council of Ministers in Abuja, expressed confidence that the meeting will help the ministers make far-reaching recommendations for the ECOWAS authority heads of state and government to create radical changes that will improve the lives of citizens. Also, the president of the ECOWAS Commission pledged the commitment of the Commission to work towards effecting positive changes in the lives of citizens of the sub-region.
Creating trade and investment opportunities will yield substantial benefits and position our community to reap significant rewards, thereby improving the lives of our populace. I'm confident that convening this session at this period provides us with yet another opportunity to engage in constructive deliberations with purposefulness and amity to enable us come up with important recommendations for our heads of state and government that will propel our community forward.
I would like to recommit the Commission and the institutions of ECOWAS. I would like to recommit our commitment, underscore our commitment to working tirelessly for our region and the citizens of our region.
Watching news now on News Central Television. Coming up, 24 persons killed in Sudan's Al Jazeera state. We have the details after the break. Join us again. And welcome back. At least 24 people have been killed and 30 injured in the latest wave of attacks by the Rapid Support Forces RSF on rural areas in Sudan's Al Jazeera state. The RSF has been targeting villages in eastern Al Jazeera since October 21st, retaliating against the defection of their former commander Abu Aklak Kilak, who joined forces with the Sudanese army. These ongoing attacks have led to the deaths of thousands of civilians and displaced over 400,000 people. This latest violence follows a similar attack in August when the RSF raided Al-Adnabs and Sahan, killing over 40 people and wounding dozens. A press briefing held by Mayor of Dakarin, the capital city of Senegal, and that's Barthélémy Dias, quickly breaks down when police entered the hall and journalists were made to leave. The police officer spoke to Dias, who was then removed from the town hall and put into his car to head home. This comes as Senegalese prepare to vote in parliamentary polls on Sunday, 8 months after electing new leaders promising profound political changes. The 7.3 million registered voters will choose whether to hand a parliamentary majority to newly elected President Bassirou Diomaye Faye and his Prime Minister Usman Sonko. A court in Namibia on Friday granted 2 opposition parties the right to inspect material from the country's recent disputed election. They have claimed there were irregularities in the presidential and parliamentary polls held on 27th November.